ask you directly, when people use your name for racism, misogyny, whatever, what is your response to that specifically?
Yeah, I think it's disappointing. I think, everybody in our world, deserves the same amount of respect. The women on our league deserve the same amount of respect. So people should not be using my name to push those agendas. It's disappointing. It's not acceptable. But yeah, I mean, this league is a league I grew up admiring and wanting to be a part of. Like, some of the women in this league were my biggest idols and role models growing up and helped me want to achieve this moment right here that I get to play in every single night. So,
but the fact that the ratings from Caitlin Clark's series to these series fell off a cliff, it should surprise no one.
I'm watching the Indiana Fever game. I'm just waiting on Caitlin Clark to catch the basketball.
Seeing as Clark was no longer competing on the court, there was a noticeable shift in viewership. Alyssa Thomas, who was observing the game from the sidelines, couldn't help but notice that the excitement and energy had decreased. After passing up a golden opportunity to host a playoff series that was watched by a large number of people, the league was forced to contend with ratings that were lower than anticipated.
The ratings aren't the same with Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever now eliminated. Game 1 of the Aces Liberty matchup on Sunday drew an average of 929,000 viewers. It was down nearly 50% from last Sunday's Fever Sun contest. By the way, not only was viewership down, but attendance was as well.
All I gotta say is she's lucky this UConn team isn't healthy. And that's a true statement.
That's wrong, Molly.
Monica?
That's wrong, Molly. Molly,
like
it's excuses.
5 top players,
it's excuses,
am I right?
Molly. It's excuses.
Major injuries.
You would not be saying that if it wasn't UConn.
Major stars not playing.
Listen, excuse me,
go.
it's her against Caitlin Clark.
Stephen A.
Ain't no excuses.
Stephen
you
A.
got there.
Wait a
no,
minute.
want to hear that now.
Stephen A.
Let me tell you, if
Paige
Georgetown
Beckers-
get back in the mix, I'm going to be insufferable. I'm just telling you that now.
What?
If Paige Beckers didn't basically miss 2 seasons, I don't know if we'd be talking about Caitlin Clark the way we are.
As a result of the fact that the championship series will now feature teams such as the New York Liberty and the Minnesota Lynx, Alyssa Thomas is stuck watching as the number of viewers continues to decrease. It is anticipated that the upcoming games will be among the matches that receive the fewest viewers throughout the season. The Women's National Basketball Association, WNBA, needs to address the issue of how the league allowed its popularity to decline at such a crucial time.
There's a reason 12 million people are watching ESPN for a game. If that game was on CBS, they probably would have had 25, 30 million people watching that game.
Without Caitlin Clark's star power, the Women's National Basketball Association, WNBA, has had a difficult time. In spite of Thomas's powerful presence on the court, the league has been unable to keep the interest of viewers. There was a lot of skepticism regarding the so-called Caitlin effect, but as the ratings continue to drop, it is becoming increasingly obvious that her absence has had a significant impact on the appeal of the league.
It looks like we're not going to be seeing Caitlin Clark play basketball again for another 200 days. An ESPN reporter said at the end of the Indiana Fever Connecticut Sun Game 2 that Caitlin Clark almost definitely will not be playing basketball this offseason. So no overseas and no 3-on-3 unrivaled league.
Alyssa Thomas and the Connecticut Sun, the team she plays for, have had a successful season, and they are hoping to make a deep playoff tournament run. However, after Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever left the show, the plot turned in a different direction. Thomas made an effort to keep the momentum going, but the Liberty's strength in the semifinals put an end to the Suns' hopes of improving their position. In light of this, Thomas is left to ruminate on a season in which the focus shifted away from her achievements and towards Clark's absence.
Caitlin Clark's the most valuable, most important person in the WNBA this year, and should have been unanimous Rookie of the Year.
Alyssa Thomas's journey through the playoffs was supposed to be a demonstration of her abilities, and the expectations that are placed on the top players in the league are enormous. However, as a result of the decline in ratings, she has become more of a commentator on the sidelines of a season that, for many people, has lost its appealing qualities. The conclusion of what had the potential to be an exciting series is now regarded as a lost opportunity to take the sport to an even higher level.
Being disrespectful, but they talked a lot of trash and they got humbled. And I think that that's okay. That is sports. That is what we live for in sports.
For Thomas, the absence of a superstar like Clark from the playoffs brought about a complete transformation in the environment. It is almost as if the excitement that is normally associated with basketball playoffs vanished overnight. The playoffs appeared to lack the usual energy that they normally have because the Indiana Fever and Caitlin Clark were not present. It is currently a challenge to figure out how to maintain fan interest in a league that has become overly reliant on a select few players who have distinguished themselves.
And to act like there isn't or hasn't been legitimate resentment emanating from those who are pioneers. Nobody's fooled here. You got pundits who used to play in the WNBA, some of them who didn't, and who were speaking on behalf of those who didn't want to create that kind of noise themselves because of the negative impact. We talk about it when the men do it. If we detect jealousy, if we detect envy, if we detect resentment, and it's amongst the fellas, we put it out there. Shit, we act like it's the latest episode of General Hospital. But when the ladies are feeling that way about another young lady like Caitlin Clark, and people like myself and Shay Shay call it out, suddenly it's a problem.
From Alyssa Thomas's perspective, the playoffs without Clark were a devoid of excitement and excitement. There is a significant difference between having a player like Clark who is dynamic and attention-grabbing that is included in the mix and not having him. The spectacle of the league as a whole is more important than the individual matches that are being played by each team. The Women's National Basketball Association, WNBA, was left scrambling for relevance during what should have been the highlight of the year because many games felt like they lacked purpose when Clark was not playing. Alyssa Thomas's perspective on the lower ratings for the Women's National Basketball Association, WNBA, after Caitlin Clark left the league, is founded on a profound comprehension of the dynamics of the game and the interests of the fans. Thomas is a veteran player who has seen the ups and downs of the league and is aware of the impact that a single player can have on viewership. However, she is also aware that the future of the Women's National Basketball Association, WNBA, cannot be dependent solely on the allure of a single superstar player. A complex problem is reflected in the sharp decline in ratings that occurred when Clark left the playoffs. This problem is the difficulty that the league has in building a fan base that is both more diverse and more consistent. According to Thomas, this problem extends beyond a single season's drop in ratings. Rather, it highlights the more widespread difficulties that women's sports go through when it comes to attracting and retaining viewers. When the attention of the public is focused on a single player, such as Clark, the departure of that player can result in a void, which players like Thomas are then left to fill. However, the challenge is not simply to fill that void. Rather, it is to create a narrative that fans want to follow, even if there is not a single headlining star. As a result of the decrease in viewership, discussions have arisen regarding the manner in which the Women's National Basketball Association, WNBA, markets its players and matches. Alyssa Thomas, who is well known for her tough playing style and leadership, has frequently been a pivotal figure in the major storylines that have been unfolding in the league. Nevertheless, her experience highlights the fact that star players are not always able to carry the weight of the entire league. It is not just a reflection of the popularity of one player that the ratings have dropped after Clark's departure. Rather, it is a symptom of the WNBA's struggle to keep casual viewers engaged in the league's programming. Thomas is well aware that it is not only about the power of the star, but also about the narratives that fans are able to connect with. Not only does a narrative that is driven by a single player have the potential to attract attention, but it also leaves the league vulnerable when that player is no longer on stage. The challenge for the Women's National Basketball Association, WNBA, is to ensure that the stories of players like Thomas, who consistently show up and deliver on the court, are just as compelling to fans as the talents that garner the most attention. As a result of Clark's departure, the ratings for the WNBA playoffs experienced a significant decline, which has led many people in the sports world to speculate about the reasons behind the dramatic decrease in viewership. Indeed, the numbers do not lie. The fact that this was the case was especially frustrating for Alyssa Thomas because it cast a shadow over the quality of the basketball that was being played in her own matches. She is well known for her all-around skills and having the ability to influence the game in a variety of different ways, and she has been an important player for the Connecticut Sun. In spite of this, it appeared that her contributions on the court were overlooked in the discussion regarding Clark's absence and the effect it had on ratings. In spite of the fact that star players are extremely important, Thomas is of the opinion that the overall popularity of the sport should not be dependent on a single name. It has been brought to her attention that when the identity of a league becomes overly dependent on a single person, the league runs the risk of losing the attention of sports fans who were initially drawn in by that particular narrative. Her point of view is that the Women's National Basketball Association, WNBA, ought to work towards a more comprehensive strategy for fan engagement, one that guarantees the focus will continue to be on the caliber of the competition, regardless of who is playing on the court. It is possible that Thomas's own style of play, which is characterized by being focused, determined, and fundamentally sound, does not always garner the same level of attention as the striking highlights that some fans associate with players such as Clark. In spite of this, it is precisely this kind of play that, if given the appropriate platform, has the potential to maintain long-term fan interest. She is of the opinion that the Women's National Basketball Association, WNBA, can cultivate a more consistent and devoted viewership base by developing a narrative that acknowledges the depth of the game and the contributions of players such as herself. As a result of Clark's departure, Thomas was confronted with the harsh reality of how fragile the viewership of the league can be. The event has prompted her to advocate for a change in the way that the Women's National Basketball Association, WNBA, markets its stars. She suggests that a more balanced approach could potentially prevent the kind of sharp drop in ratings that has been seen this season. It may be possible for the league to maintain a consistent audience by highlighting a diverse range of talents, from rookies to veterans. This could be beneficial even if different players go through periods of prominence and decline. In the aftermath of Clark's departure, Thomas found himself pondering the larger cultural narratives that influence the way fans view the Women's National Basketball Association, WNBA. It has been brought to her attention that the persistent difficulties in attracting attention to women's sports are a contributing factor in the decline in ratings. With that being said, she is of the opinion that the league has failed to capitalize on opportunities to better promote the strengths of players who bring a variety of skill sets to the game. Even though they don't always make the highlight reel, Thomas has been a standout in terms of versatility, defense, and leadership. These are qualities that are essential in playoff basketball, even though they don't always go into the spotlight. Instead of trying to find a way to replace Clark's star power, Thomas believes that the solution lies in highlighting the full range of talent that exists within the WNBA. She is of the opinion that if fans had been provided with a reason to care about the competitions between teams such as the Sun and Liberty, they would have been more eager to participate. Fans who appreciate the nuances of the sport beyond just one player's standout performances could be attracted to the Women's National Basketball Association, WNBA, if the league places more emphasis on the stories of resiliency, strategic play, and teamwork. Despite the fact that the league is about to enter its off-season, Alyssa Thomas is optimistic that this experience will result in improvements. Although the decline in ratings that occurred after Clark left his position has served as a wake-up call, it also presents an opportunity. While Thomas is of the opinion that the Women's National Basketball Association, WNBA, can build on the foundation that players such as Clark have laid, the league should also work to ensure that it can continue to thrive even in the absence of a major star player. In her opinion, the most important thing is to develop a model for women's basketball that is sustainable, one that acknowledges the contributions made by each player and attracts fans who have a passion for the game itself. Thomas considers this to be a pivotal moment for the Women's National Basketball Association, WNBA. She is aware that star players will continue to be a major draw, but she envisions a future in which the identity of the league will be shaped by the collective strength of all of its athletes. With a more devoted fan base that is there for the sport as a whole, and not just for one player's extraordinary run, the Women's National Basketball Association, WNBA, could emerge stronger if it is able to learn from the challenges that it has faced this season. She is of the opinion that this vision is necessary for the long-term success of the league. It is intended to ensure that no single player, even one as influential as Caitlin Clark, has the ability to determine whether or not an entire season is exciting. What are your thoughts on this situation? Let me know down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.